What happens when a father is publicly assigned a corner of his own life at his son's wedding? When my son's new wife announced where I would be allowed to live, and my son calmly explained who would take my house, I didn't argue. I took the microphone instead and ended the celebration before the cake was cut. Before we continue, we ask you to hit the hype button, subscribe, and like the video to help the channel grow. Tell us which city you are from in the comments. We would like to get to know our audience better. I arrived early. The venue was one of those places that tries too hard. White pillars, fountain out front, valet service for a town that doesn't need one. I parked my truck near the back, away from the expensive cars already lining up. Rowan had picked the place. Or rather, Maribel had picked it, and Rowan had nodded. I straightened my tie in the rearview mirror. Navy suit, clean shoes, nothing flashy. I wasn't here to stand out. I was here because my son was getting married, and despite everything, I wanted to see him happy. The church vestibule was cool and dim. People clustered in small groups, voices low and respectful. I recognized a few faces, cousins I hadn't seen in years, friends from Rowan's college days, people who smiled and nodded but didn't approach. I stood near the back, hands folded, waiting. Then I saw them. Brooks Calder walked in like he owned the building. Tall, silver-haired, wearing a suit that cost more than my truck. Alma was beside him, her hand on his arm, smiling at everyone who looked their way. They moved through the crowd like royalty, accepting greetings, offering blessings. Brooks saw me and nodded. Just a nod, no handshake, no greeting, just acknowledgement that I existed. Alma's smile was warmer, but there was something behind it. Pity, maybe, or satisfaction. "Silias," she said, her voice carrying just enough to draw attention. "So glad you could make it." Like I was a guest, like this wasn't my son getting married. "Wouldn't miss it," I said. "Of course not." She patted my arm. "Family is everything." The ceremony was beautiful. Rowan stood at the altar in a gray tuxedo, hands clasped in front of him, waiting. When Maribel walked down the aisle, the room seemed to exhale. She was stunning. White dress, dark hair swept up, a smile that could stop traffic. Rowan's face lit up when he saw her. I felt something tighten in my chest. Pride, maybe. Or loss. They said their vows. They kissed. People clapped. And then we moved to the reception. The hall was massive. Round tables covered in white linen, centerpieces of pale roses, a stage at the far end with a microphone stand. A string quartet played softly in the corner. Waiters circulated with trays of champagne. Everything was perfect. I found my seat. Table 9. Near the back, away from the head table where Rowan and Maribel sat with Brooks, Alma, and a few others I didn't recognize. My table was filled with distant relatives and Rowan's co-workers, polite strangers who smiled and introduced themselves before turning back to their own conversations. I watched the head table, watched Brooks lean over and say something to Rowan, watched Alma laugh and touch Maribel's hand, watched my son nod along, smiling, agreeable. The toasts began. Brooks went first. He stood, microphone in hand, and spoke about family, about legacy, about how proud he was to welcome Rowan into their family. The room applauded. Alma went next, lighter and funnier, telling stories about Maribel's childhood that made people laugh. More applause. Then Maribel stood. She didn't take the microphone at first. She just stood there, smiling, waiting for the room to quiet. When it did, she picked up the mic and looked out at the crowd. "Thank you all for being here," she said. Her voice was clear, confident. "This day means everything to us. And I want to take a moment to talk about family, because that's what today is really about." She looked at Rowan. He smiled back. "Rowan and I have been planning our future together for a long time," she continued. "And part of that future means making sure everyone we love is taken care of." She turned slightly, her gaze sweeping toward my table. "Silias," she said, and my name hung in the air like a question. Rowan's father. We know you've been living in that little flat downtown for a while now, and we want you to know you're welcome to stay there. We think it's perfect for you. Comfortable, quiet, close to everything you need. There was a murmur of approval from the crowd. A few people nodded. Someone at my table smiled at me. I didn't move. Maribel kept talking. And as for the house, Rowan's childhood home, we've talked about this a lot, and we've decided it makes the most sense for my parents to move in. They're getting older, and the space would really work for them. Plus, it keeps everything in the family. She looked at Brooks and Alma. They were smiling. Brooks raised his glass slightly like a toast. We hope everyone understands, Maribel said. This is what's best for everyone. The room applauded. Rowan stood. He took the microphone from Maribel's hand and looked out at the crowd. His expression was calm, neutral, the same look he'd had since he was a kid when he didn't want to deal with conflict. Just to add to that, he said, his voice steady, we really think this arrangement works. My dad's flat is great for him, and the house, it's big and my in-laws will put it to good use. We've thought about this carefully, and it feels right. He looked at me. Not apologetic, not defiant, just explaining. We appreciate everyone's support, he said. More applause. Louder this time. I sat there, hands resting on the table, and felt the weight of 100 eyes on me, waiting for me to smile, waiting for me to nod, waiting for me to confirm that yes, this was fine, this was what I wanted. Brooks leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, satisfaction written all over his face. Alma raised her glass toward me, still smiling. Rowan set the microphone back on the stand and sat down beside Maribel. She squeezed his hand. The music started again. People began talking, laughing, moving on. And I sat there, watching the microphone stand, empty and waiting. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in my flat, the one they'd so generously allowed me to keep, and stared at the ceiling. The place wasn't bad. 2 rooms, a kitchen barely big enough to turn around in, a bathroom with a shower that rattled when you turned it on. I'd moved here 3 years ago when the house got too big, too empty, after Rowan left for college and never really came back. I'd told myself it was temporary, a phase, a way to simplify. I'd never told anyone I still owned the house. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, a message in the family group chat, the one Rowan had created 6 months ago when he and Maribel got engaged. Alma. Such a beautiful evening. So happy we're all family now. Maribel. Couldn't agree more. Can't wait to start planning the move. Brooks. Let's talk logistics next week. Want to get everything settled before the holidays. Rowan. Sounds good. No one had asked me anything. Not once. I scrolled back through the chat, weeks of messages, discussions about the wedding, about seating arrangements, about the menu, and buried in there, casual mentions of the house and the move and making space. They'd been talking about it for months. I set the phone down and stared at the dark screen. There'd been a time when Rowan would have called me first. When he was younger, before college, before Maribel, he'd come to me with questions. What do you think, Dad? Does this make sense? Should I do this? I'd taught him to think things through, to ask questions, to respect what came before him. Somewhere along the way, that had stopped. I thought back to the first time I met Maribel. Rowan had brought her to the house for dinner. She'd smiled, shaken my hand, complimented the place. We'd eaten at the old wooden table in the kitchen, and she'd asked polite questions about my work, about the town, about Rowan's childhood. Brooks and Alma had come to visit a month later. They'd walked through the house like they were touring a museum. Alma had commented on the size of the rooms, the layout, the potential. Brooks had stood in the backyard, hands in his pockets, nodding to himself. Good property, he'd said. Real good property. I thought nothing of it at the time, but looking back now, I saw it. the way they'd measured the space, the way Alma had asked about the neighborhood, the schools, the distance to the grocery store, the way Brooks had asked, casually, if I'd ever thought about selling. Not really, I'd said. He'd nodded. Well, if you ever do, let us know. 3 months later, Rowan had mentioned the flat, how it was closer to his office, how it made sense for me to downsize, how the house was a lot to manage for one person. I'd agreed because it was easier than arguing, and because I thought he'd ask before giving it away. The next morning, I drove past the house. I didn't stop, just slowed down as I passed, windows up, radio off. The driveway was empty, the lawn needed mowing, the porch light was still on from the night before, the bulb buzzing faintly. It looked the same as it always had, but it didn't feel like mine anymore. I kept driving. The coffee shop near the courthouse was quiet in the mornings. I ordered black coffee and sat in the corner booth, the one with a view of the street. My phone buzzed again. Rowan. Hey, Dad, hope you're doing okay. Thanks for being there yesterday. Means a lot. I stared at the message for a long time. Doing okay. Like I'd been sick. Like I needed reassurance. I didn't respond. An hour later, my phone rang. Taylor Hale. Silias, he said when I answered. How are you holding up? Taylor had been a friend of my father's. A lawyer, semi-retired now, but still sharp. We'd kept in touch over the years. He'd helped me with the property paperwork when I bought the house, helped me set up the trust after my wife passed. I'm fine, I said. You sure? I didn't answer. I saw the photos, Taylor said carefully, from the wedding. Looked like a nice event. It was. And I heard some things, through the grapevine. I waited. Silias, did they ask you? About the house? No. He was quiet for a moment. Then, you want to talk about it? Not yet. All right. But when you do, you call me. Understand? I will. I hung up and finished my coffee. That afternoon, I went to the hardware store. I didn't need anything, but I liked the place. It smelled like sawdust and oil, and the aisles were organized in a way that made sense. The cafe corner in the back served decent sandwiches and let you sit as long as you wanted. I ordered a sandwich and sat by the window. An old acquaintance, Franklin, spotted me and walked over. He'd worked construction most of his life, retired now, spent his days fixing things for neighbors and drinking coffee. Silias, he said, sitting down without asking. Heard your boy got married. He did. Good for him. Maribel, right? Pretty girl. Saw her at the grocery store a few times. Confident. That's one word for it. Franklin grinned. Her folks are something too. Brooks called her. Heard he's got his hands in a lot of things. He does. You get along with them? I shrugged. They're family now. Franklin studied me. You don't sound thrilled. I didn't respond. He leaned back, arms crossed. You know, my daughter tried something like that once. Told me I should move out of my house so she and her husband could move in. Said it made sense. Said I'd be happier somewhere smaller. What did you do? Told her no. That work? Eventually. Took a while, but she got over it. I nodded. Franklin stood. Good luck, Silias. Family's tricky. Thanks. That evening, I sat in my flat and opened my laptop. I pulled up the files Taylor had helped me create years ago. Property deeds, trust documents, ownership records. Everything was still in my name. Everything. The house, the land, even the furniture. I'd never transferred anything to Rowan, never put his name on a single document. Because I'd wanted to wait. Wanted to make sure he was ready. Wanted to see who he'd become. I closed the laptop and leaned back. They didn't know, none of them knew. And I wasn't going to tell them. Not yet. The message came 2 days later. Alma. Silias, we'd love to come by the house next week to take measurements. Want to make sure our furniture fits before we move. Let us know what day works. I read it 3 times. Our furniture. Before we move. Not asking, informing. I didn't respond. An hour later, my phone buzzed again. Rowan this time. Rowan. Hey Dad, just following up on Mom Alma's message. Let us know when we can swing by, shouldn't take long. Mom Alma. I set the phone down and stared at the wall. The next morning, I drove to the house. It was early, the sun just starting to burn off the fog. I parked in the driveway and sat there for a moment, engine off, hands on the wheel. The house looked the same. 2 stories, white paint starting to peel near the gutters, a porch that wrapped around the front. I'd bought it 30 years ago, right after Rowan was born, paid it off in 15, repaired the roof twice, replaced the water heater 3 times, refinished the floors myself. It wasn't fancy, but it was solid. I got out and walked to the front door. The key still worked. Inside, the air was stale. I'd taken most of my things when I moved to the flat, but the furniture was still here. The couch in the living room, the table in the kitchen, the bed upstairs. I walked through each room slowly, running my hand along the walls, the door frames, the windowsills. This was mine. I heard a car pull into the driveway. I looked out the window and saw Brooks's sedan. He got out, followed by Alma. They walked toward the house, talking, gesturing toward the windows. I opened the front door before they could knock. Silias, Brooks said, smiling, didn't expect to see you here. It's my house. He laughed. Right, of course. We just wanted to take a quick look around, get a sense of the space. Alma stepped forward. We won't be long, just need to see if our dining table will fit in the kitchen. I didn't move. Brooks's smile faltered slightly. You mind if we come in? I do. Alma blinked. Excuse me? I mind. Brooks straightened. Silias, I think there's been a misunderstanding. Rowan said, Rowan doesn't make decisions about this house. He's your son, and this is my property. There was a long silence. Alma's smile had disappeared. Silias, I think we need to have a conversation. We just did. I closed the door. I heard them talking outside, their voices muffled. A minute later, their car started, and they drove away. My phone buzzed almost immediately. Rowan. Dad, what's going on? Brooks just called. Said you wouldn't let them in the house. I didn't respond. Rowan. Can you call me? We need to talk. I turned the phone off. That afternoon, I met Taylor at the coffee shop. He sat across from me, reading glasses perched on his nose, a folder open in front of him. You want to tell me what happened? He asked. I told him. The wedding announcement, the group chat, the driveway visit. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back and sighed. They assumed, he said. They did. And Rowan? He's letting them. Taylor nodded slowly. You know what this is, right? This is what happens when people mistake silence for agreement. I know. So what do you want to do? I looked at him. I want them to stop assuming. And how do you want to do that? Publicly. Taylor raised an eyebrow. You sure? They made it public. I'll end it public. He closed the folder and tapped it with one finger. All right. Then we need to move carefully. Timing matters. You go too early, they'll have time to spin it. You go too late, and it looks like retaliation. What's the right time? When they're most confident, when they think it's already done. The wedding was 3 days ago. I know. But they're not confident yet. They're testing, pushing, seeing how far they can go. So I wait. You wait, and you let them keep pushing. I nodded. One more thing, Taylor said. If you're going to do this, you need to be ready for the fallout. Rowan's not going to take this well. Neither is Maribel, or her parents. I know. And you're okay with that? I thought about the microphone, the applause, the assumptions. I'm okay with it. Taylor stood and handed me the folder. Then keep this safe. When the time comes, you'll need it. I took the folder and left. That evening, I sat in my flat and opened the folder. Inside were copies of everything. Deeds, trust documents, financial records, a timeline showing when I'd purchased the house, when I'd paid it off, when I'd set up the legal structures. There was also a note in Taylor's handwriting. Ownership is not inherited. It is transferred, and you never transferred it. I closed the folder and set it on the table. My phone buzzed. I'd turned it back on an hour ago. Messages from Rowan, from Alma, from Maribel, all asking the same thing. What's wrong? Why are you being difficult? Can we talk? I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I opened the group chat and typed a single message. Silias. I'll be at the house this weekend if anyone wants to talk. Saturday afternoon. I hit send and turned the phone off again. Saturday came. I arrived at the house at noon, unlocked the door, and waited. Rowan showed up first. He pulled into the driveway in his sedan, parked, and sat there for a moment before getting out. He walked slowly to the front door, hands in his pockets, eyes down. I opened the door before he knocked. Dad, he said. Rowan. He stepped inside, looking around like he hadn't been here in years. Can we talk? That's why I'm here. We sat in the living room. He took the couch. I took the chair across from him. I don't understand what's happening, he said. You seemed fine at the wedding, and then… I wasn't fine. He blinked. You didn't say anything. I didn't think I needed to. Well, you do, because now Maribel's upset, and her parents are upset, and I don't know what to tell them. Tell them the truth. Which is? That this house isn't theirs. Rowan frowned. Dad, we talked about this. You agreed. No, you talked. I listened. But you didn't say no. I didn't say yes. He stared at me. You're really going to do this? You're going to make this difficult? I'm not making anything difficult. I'm correcting an assumption. An assumption that you could give away something that isn't yours. His face flushed. It's not like that. Then what is it like? He stood. You know what? I don't need this. Maribel was right. She said you'd be stubborn about it. She said that? Yeah, she did. And I defended you. I told her you'd understand, that you'd want what's best for the family. And what's best for the family is giving away my house? It's not just your house. It's… He stopped. It's what? He didn't answer. Say it, Rowan. It's supposed to be mine eventually, right? So why does it matter if it happens now? I leaned forward. Because eventually isn't now, and because you didn't ask. I shouldn't have to ask. You're my father. Exactly. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned and walked out. I heard his car start and drive away. An hour later, Maribel arrived. She came with Alma. They walked in without knocking, both of them wearing expressions I couldn't quite read. Silias, Alma said, her voice clipped. We need to resolve this. I agree. Good. Then let's talk like adults. We sat at the kitchen table. Maribel folded her hands in front of her. Alma crossed her arms. Rowan told us what you said, Maribel began. And I'm going to be honest, I'm confused. At the wedding, you didn't say anything. You let us announce the plan. You let everyone hear it. And now you're saying no? I'm saying you didn't ask. We didn't think we had to. That's the problem. Alma leaned forward. Silias, I understand you're feeling territorial, but you have to see this from our perspective. The house is too much for you. You're alone here. It doesn't make sense. It makes sense to me, but it doesn't make sense for the family. Whose family? Alma's expression hardened. Rowan's family. Maribel's family. The family they're building. And I'm not part of that? Of course you are. That's why we want you to stay in the flat. It's perfect for you. It's perfect because it's small. It's perfect because it's manageable. I looked at Maribel. You really think this is fair? She met my eyes. I think it's practical. Practical? Yes. My parents need space. You don't. It's simple. I nodded slowly. And if I say no? Alma stood. Then you're being selfish. Selfish? Yes, because you're putting your pride ahead of your son's happiness. I'm putting my ownership ahead of your assumptions. Alma's face flushed. You know what, Silias? I tried to be kind. I tried to be understanding. But if you're going to be difficult, then fine. We'll do this the hard way. What's the hard way? Lawyers, mediation, whatever it takes. I smiled. Good luck with that. They left without another word. I sat at the table for a long time after they were gone. That evening, I met Taylor at his office. He poured us both a drink and sat across from his desk. They're escalating, he said. I know. Good. That means they're desperate. Desperate people are dangerous. Not when they don't have a case. He pulled out a file and slid it across the desk. I did some digging. Brooks has been telling people the house is already his. He's been talking to contractors about renovations. He's even started looking into property taxes. He doesn't own it. But he thinks he does. And more importantly, he's acting like he does. So what do? You let him keep acting. Let him get more confident. Let him invest time, money, emotion, and then, when he's all in, you pull the rug out. When? Taylor leaned back. Soon, but not yet. The next 2 weeks were quiet, too quiet. No messages in the group chat, no calls from Rowan, no visits from Alma or Brooks. It felt like a ceasefire, but I knew better. I spent my days working, eating, sleeping, normal routines, normal life. But I kept the folder Taylor had given me close, checked it every night, made sure everything was in order. On the 3rd week, I got a voicemail from Rowan. Dad, I don't know what you're trying to prove, but this isn't helping anyone. Maribel's upset, her parents are upset, and honestly, I'm upset too. I thought we were past this kind of thing. I thought you trusted me. I guess I was wrong. Call me if you want to fix this. Otherwise, I don't know what else to say. I didn't call back. 2 days later, I saw Brooks at the grocery store. He was in the produce section, picking through apples. He saw me and walked over. Silias, he said. His tone was friendly, but his eyes weren't. Brooks. Haven't seen you around. Thought maybe you'd left town. Nope, still here. He nodded. Good. Listen, I know things have been tense, but I want you to know there's no hard feelings. We're family now. We'll figure this out. I'm sure we will. Great. Because we've already started planning. Got a contractor lined up for some renovations. Nothing major, just updating the kitchen, maybe adding a deck out back. Renovations. Yeah, Alma's excited about it. She's got all these ideas. I'm sure she does, he smiled. Anyway, just wanted to let you know. Keep you in the loop. He walked away before I could respond. I finished my shopping and drove to Taylor's office. They're moving forward, I said when I sat down. I know. I heard. How? Brooks filed a request with the county, wants to get permits for construction on the property. He can't do that. He can try, and he did. The county rejected it because he's not the owner, but he doesn't know that yet. When will he find out? Next week, maybe sooner. And then? Taylor smiled. And then he'll realize he's been operating on bad information. I leaned back. You think he'll back down? No, I think he'll double down. People like Brooks don't admit mistakes. They find someone else to blame. Rowan. Probably. So what do? You wait. 1 more week. Then we end it. I spent the next week preparing. I went through the house room by room, taking photos, documenting everything, the furniture, the walls, the floors. I wanted a record. I also called a few old friends, people I'd known for years, asked them if they'd be willing to show up if I needed them. None of them asked why. They just said yes. On Friday, I got a message from Rowan. Rowan, there's going to be a family meeting, Sunday afternoon at the house. Everyone's going to be there, you should come. I stared at the message for a long time. A family meeting, at my house, without asking. I responded. Silias, I'll be there. Sunday came. I arrived at the house at 2 in the afternoon. There were already 3 cars in the driveway. Brooks's sedan, Alma's SUV, Rowan's car. I parked on the street and walked up. The front door was unlocked. I stepped inside and heard voices in the living room. They were all there. Brooks and Alma sitting on the couch, Rowan standing near the window, Maribel in the chair I used to sit in. They looked up when I walked in. "Dad," Rowan said. "Thanks for coming." I didn't respond. Brooks stood. "Silias, good to see you. Why don't you have a seat?" "I'm fine standing." Alma smiled. "This won't take long." "I'm sure it won't." Brooks cleared his throat. We wanted to bring everyone together to discuss the situation, calmly, rationally, because at the end of the day, we're all family, and family should be able to work things out. Agreed. Good. So here's what we're proposing. You keep the flat. We take the house. Rowan and Maribel get peace of mind knowing everyone's taken care of. It's a win for everyone. Except me. Why? You get to stay where you are. No change for you. No ownership either. Brooks frowned. "Silias, let's not make this about ownership. It's about what makes sense. It makes sense to you. It makes sense to everyone in this room." I looked at Rowan. "Does it?" He didn't answer. "Rowan," I said, "does this make sense to you?" "Dad, please. Answer the question." He looked at Maribel. She nodded. "Yes," he said quietly. "It does." I turned to Brooks. "Then we have a problem." "Why?" "Because you can't take what isn't yours." Brooks smiled. "Silias, I think you're confused. The house is mine. Technically, yes, but Rowan is your heir, and when you're gone, I'm not gone." Alma stood. "Silias, we've been patient. We've been kind. But this is getting ridiculous. You're being stubborn for no reason." "I have a reason." "Which is?" "Respect." She laughed. "Respect? You think this is about respect?" "It is." "No, it's about control. You can't handle the fact that Rowan's an adult now, that he doesn't need you anymore." I looked at her. "Is that what you think?" "It's what I know." I nodded slowly. "Then you don't know anything." Brooks stepped forward. "All right, enough. Silias, we're trying to be reasonable, but if you won't work with us, we'll have no choice but to take legal action." "Go ahead." He blinked. "Excuse me?" "Take legal action, get a lawyer, file whatever you want. I'll be waiting." Alma's smile faltered. "You're bluffing. Try me." There was a long silence. Then Rowan spoke. "Dad, why are you doing this?" I looked at him. "Because you didn't ask." "I didn't think I had to." "That's the problem." Maribel stood. "Okay, I've heard enough. Silias, you're being unreasonable, and honestly, you're embarrassing yourself. We're trying to help you." "I don't need help." "Clearly you do." I smiled. "We'll see." I walked out. Behind me, I heard Alma say, "He's lost his mind." I got in my truck and drove away. Monday morning, Taylor called. "They filed," he said. "Filed what?" "A petition, requesting mediation to resolve a family property dispute. They're serious. They're desperate. Brooks realized the county rejected his permit request. Now he's scrambling. What do? We respond. Calmly, factually. We show up to mediation with everything documented, and we let their own actions do the damage." "When?" 2 weeks. "That's too long." "No, it's perfect. It gives them time to dig deeper, to commit, to tell more people what they think is going to happen." I thought about it. "All right. Good. One more thing. The wedding. There's going to be a reception follow-up event, some kind of celebration dinner. Brooks is hosting. Invitations went out last week." "I didn't get one." "That's because they didn't invite you." "Why are you telling me this?" Taylor smiled. "Because I think you should show up anyway." The dinner was scheduled for the following Saturday at a hotel downtown. The same hotel where the wedding reception had been. I bought a new shirt, pressed my suit, polished my shoes. Taylor met me in the parking lot. "You ready?" he asked. "I am." "Remember, say nothing until the right moment." "I know." We walked in together. The ballroom was smaller than the reception hall, but just as elegant. Round tables, white linen, candles in the center. About 50 people. Family, mostly. A few friends. Brooks and Alma stood near the entrance, greeting guests. They saw me and froze. "Silias," Brooks said slowly. "I didn't realize you were coming." "I wasn't invited, but I'm here." Alma's smile was tight. "Well, we're glad to have you." I nodded and walked past them. Rowan and Maribel were at a table near the front. Rowan saw me and stood. "Dad," he said, "what are you doing here?" "Attending a family event." "You weren't—" "I know." Maribel looked at Brooks. He shook his head slightly. I found an empty seat near the back and sat down. Taylor sat beside me. The room filled slowly, people talking, laughing, drinking. Music played softly in the background. Brooks stood and tapped a glass. "Everyone," he said, "thank you for being here. Tonight is about celebrating family, about coming together, about building a future." Applause. He continued. "As many of you know, Alma and I are excited to start a new chapter. We're moving soon, and we couldn't be happier. This is what family is about, supporting each other, making sacrifices, working together." More applause. "And I want to thank Rowan and Maribel for making this possible, for being thoughtful, for being generous." He raised his glass. "To family." "To family," the room echoed. I didn't raise my glass. Brooks sat down. The meal was served. People ate, talked, laughed. After dessert, Alma stood. She walked to the small stage at the front and picked up the microphone. "I just want to say a few words," she began. "Tonight has been wonderful, and I'm so grateful for all of you, especially Rowan and Maribel. You've given us such a gift." She looked at Rowan. He smiled. "Moving into the house is going to be an adventure. We've already started planning. We're going to make it beautiful. A real family home." Applause again. She set the microphone down and returned to her seat. I stood. The room went quiet. I walked to the stage and picked up the microphone. "Silias," Brooks said, his voice sharp. "What are you doing?" I didn't answer. I looked out at the room. "I want to thank everyone for being here," I said. "And I want to clear up a misunderstanding." Rowan stood. "Dad, don't." I ignored him. "There's been a lot of talk about the house, about who's moving in, about what's been decided, and I think it's important that everyone knows the truth." Alma's face went pale. "The house," I continued, "is not available. It never was, because it's mine, legally, fully, unquestionably." Brooks stood. "Silias, that's enough." "I'm not finished." I pulled a piece of paper from my pocket. "This is the deed. It shows that I purchased the house 30 years ago, that I paid it off 15 years ago, and that I never transferred ownership to anyone." I held it up. "There's also a trust, set up after my wife passed. It ensures that the property remains in my control until I decide otherwise, which I haven't." I looked at Brooks. "You can't move into a house you don't own. You can't renovate a property that isn't yours. And you can't file permits for construction you're not authorized to do." His face turned red. "As for the flat," I said, "it's mine too. I own it. I've been renting it to myself, which means I can leave anytime I want." I looked at Rowan. "And I didn't need your permission to do any of this, because you're my son, not my landlord." The room was silent. I set the microphone down and walked off the stage. Taylor stood and followed me out. Behind us, I heard voices rising, confusion, anger, shock. But I didn't look back. Outside, the air was cool. I stood in the parking lot and looked up at the sky. "You did it," Taylor said. "I did." "How do you feel?" I thought about it. "I feel like I just took my life back." Inside, I heard the microphone click on. Someone was trying to salvage the evening, trying to smooth things over. But it was too late. The assumptions were gone. The respect was restored. And the house was still mine. The fallout was immediate. My phone started buzzing before I even left the parking lot. Messages flooded in: Rowan, Maribel, Alma, even Brooks. I didn't read any of them. I turned the phone off and drove home. Taylor followed me to the flat. We sat in the small kitchen, and he poured us both a drink. "They're going to come at you hard," he said. "I know. Brooks will try to spin this, make you look unreasonable, make himself look like the victim." "Let him try." Taylor smiled. "You're calmer than I expected." "I've been calm this whole time. They just didn't notice." He raised his glass. "To clarity. To clarity." We drank. The next morning, I turned my phone back on. 43 messages, 12 missed calls, 3 voicemails. I listened to the voicemails. The first was from Alma. Her voice was tight, controlled. "Silias, that was completely inappropriate. You humiliated us in front of everyone. We need to talk. Call me back." The second was from Rowan. He sounded tired. "Dad, I don't even know what to say. You destroyed everything. Maribel's devastated. Her parents are furious. And I don't know how to fix this. Call me, please." The third was from Maribel. She didn't sound sad. She sounded angry. "You're a selfish, bitter old man, you know that? You couldn't stand seeing Rowan happy, so you ruined it. I hope you're proud of yourself." I deleted all 3 and set the phone down. There was a knock at the door an hour later. I opened it to find Rowan standing there. He looked like he hadn't slept. Eyes red, hair messy, shirt wrinkled. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He walked to the kitchen and sat down. I poured him a glass of water and sat across from him. "You didn't have to do that," he said. "Yes, I did. You embarrassed them. You embarrassed me." I corrected a lie. It wasn't a lie. It was a plan. It was a plan based on assumptions that were never confirmed. He rubbed his face. "Why didn't you just tell us? Why did you have to make it public?" "Because you made it public first, at the wedding. That was different." "How?" "Because we thought—" He stopped. "You thought what?" He didn't answer. "You thought I'd just go along with it," I said. "You thought I'd smile and nod and let you give away my house because it was easier than asking. It's not like that." "Then what is it like?" He stood. "You know what? I didn't come here to argue." "Then why did you come?" "Because you're my father. And I wanted to give you a chance to fix this." "Fix what?" "This. All of it. Apologize to Maribel. Apologize to her parents. Make this right." I leaned back. "No. No. I'm not apologizing for owning my own property." "It's not about the property. It's about respect." "Exactly." He stared at me. "I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe you expected me not to." He walked to the door and stopped. "Maribel's right. You are selfish. Maybe. And bitter. If you say so." He opened the door and looked back. "I don't know if I can forgive you for this. That's your choice." He left. I sat in the kitchen for a long time after he was gone. 2 days later, I got a certified letter. It was from a law firm representing Brooks and Alma Calder. The letter claimed that I had acted in bad faith, that I had misled the family, that I had caused emotional distress and financial harm. It demanded that I transfer ownership of the house to Rowan within 30 days. I took the letter to Taylor. He read it, laughed, and tossed it on his desk. "They're desperate," he said. "What do I do?" "Nothing. Let me handle it." "What are you going to do?" "I'm going to respond with facts. Show them the deed. Show them the trust. Show them every piece of evidence that proves you own the property free and clear. And then I'm going to remind them that making baseless legal threats is a good way to waste money. Will that stop them? It'll slow them down. And once they realize they don't have a case, they'll drop it." And if they don't? Taylor smiled. Then we go to court. And we win. A week later, Brooks called me. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Silias, this is Brooks. I think we got off on the wrong foot. I'd like to talk, man to man. No lawyers, no drama, just two people trying to figure this out. Call me back. I didn't call back. The following week, I saw Alma at the grocery store. She was in the dairy aisle, and when she saw me, her face went hard. She walked over. Silias, she said. Her voice was cold. Alma, you've made your point. Congratulations, you won. But you know what? You didn't just hurt us. You hurt Rowan, your own son. Rowan hurt himself. By trying to take care of his family? By assuming he could take what wasn't his. She stepped closer. You're going to regret this. I doubt it. You will. Because Rowan's never going to forgive you. And when he has kids, when he starts his own family, you're not going to be part of it. You'll be the bitter old man who couldn't let go. If that's what he thinks, then I didn't raise him right. Her face flushed. You're impossible. She walked away. I finished my shopping and left. That evening, Taylor called. They dropped it, he said. Dropped what? The legal threat. Got a letter from their lawyer today. Says they're withdrawing their claim. Why? Because they realized they didn't have one. Brooks tried to bluff. It didn't work. Is it over? Legally, yes. Personally, that's up to you. I hung up and sat on the couch. It was quiet. For the first time in weeks, my phone wasn't buzzing. No messages, no calls, no demands, just silence. I looked around the flat. It was small, but it was mine. And the house? Still mine too. I'd won.